But the Maya has dropped an amazing video of the Orania. What was it? Orania? Or the white people in South Africa. Yeah, this is on par with Nico Omelana visiting the KKK guy here. I've heard a lot of stuff about this. I've read a lot of tweets and discourse about it, but I just want to give my own. I just want to understand what the video, understand it, and give my own discourse, give my own opinion on this. Yeah, let's go. Wow. It's gonna be a long video. I'm already pissed. It's gonna be a long video.
I don't even know how to feel right now. Should I tell you guys that I'm super scared? Because I'm about to do one of the craziest videos that I've never dreamt of. This particular video will definitely go down as one of my most sensitive vlog ever. I mean, I'm currently in Cape Town, driving to a town that so many South Africans don't want to hear about. I mean, if I talk about South Africans, I'm talking about Black South Africans, indigenous South Africans, people that were here before the settlers came in here. I believe that most of you have heard of the town. In my whole lifetime,
this is even my first time hearing this video. Yeah, I see hearing this video. Hearing the name of the place. I thought, wait, are these people the same people who speak the Afrikaans? Because they speak English.
I never thought I would come across a town within the land of black people where blacks are not allowed to live in there. People out there believe that Orania is a racist model. Do you believe that whatever you guys are practicing here is racism?
No.
So what is it then?
It's a culture town. It's a culture town.
How is it a culture town?
The narrative is out there that if you preserve your culture, you're racist.
No. Nobody is saying if you preserve your culture, it's racist.
That's not true.
You can preserve your culture and not be racist.
An African can leave Africa, go to Europe, and say that we just bought this land and no one is allowed to come in.
Yeah, it's not possible.
In this town, it's whites only. If I have to decode the whites only, I'm talking about Afrikaans only. So if you're a black man like me, you cannot stay there.
We say Orania is a community for Afrikaners. It's not an issue just white in, black out. It's a question of culture.
But someone might ask, if you want to preserve your culture, you're preserving your culture on
the land that's not yours.
That belongs to South Africa.
Yeah.
Well, that is whole nother debate.
If that is the case, then let's bring the other debate.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa.
White South Africans make up about 8% of the population, but they hold about 3/4 of privately owned land in the country. In contrast, only 4% of privately held land is owned by Black South Africans, who make up nearly 80% of the country's 60 million residents.
I'm sure that you guys know that white people were not originally from South Africa. Like they migrated in the late 17th century from Netherlands, France, England, Germany, in short from Europe. I mean, they were immigrants in South Africa, but they forcefully colonized the people. Actually, no. They enslaved the owners of the land, the Black South Africans. This is something that Donald Trump doesn't know, by the way, so you're welcome.
Of the decision.
Last month, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law a bill that allows the government to expropriate property for public purposes or in the public interest, in some cases without compensation.
Well, I don't think land expropriation without compensation is a good idea. I think if you realistically look at the amount of land that the South African government has, that the big communities like the Kunyama Trust have and so on, I think the land is not the problem. The problem in South Africa is economic problem, and there's actually been research done on that, proving that people don't necessarily want land, they want a better economic future. Most people don't want to be farmers. To farm is a tough job, it's not a very rewarding job in terms of money and so on. I also think that the South African economy will collapse if there is land expropriation without compensation.
Really?
Interesting.
How would it collapse?
And I want to include you in this conversation.
How would it collapse? Because if there's been land appropriation, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Is it land expropriation or land what? Yeah, land expropriation. There's nothing wrong with it. The government, the land is for the government. The land is for the country. The government can come in and say, yeah, we are taking this land of yours to build a factory, we are taking this land of yours to build a school, we are taking this land of yours to build a road, to do whatever they want to do. But they could even decide, okay, we will give you a compensation or not. How would that bring the economy down? Like, what is the correlation?
Interesting. And I want to include you in this conversation. So let me know what you think in the comment section, but don't forget to like this video because it's very important to me.
Welcome back. Orania, an Afrikaner-only town in South Africa, has weighed in on the US President Donald Trump's order halting financial aid to South Africa and offering refugee status to Afrikaners.
But this is what the Afrikaners think about Trump's offer.
We are not necessarily interested in tax dollars and handouts and help. What we want, we already got to an extent. We want recognition. We want recognition from abroad, we want recognition locally, and we want recognition from our peers. That is to say, firstly, those people are a people upon themselves, and this, they have the right to make certain decisions for themselves. That is what we want. We don't want people's money, we don't want people's handouts. We as Orania want larger recognition, greater recognition.
For what?
And I think that is
you've done enough
not
to
too
be
much to
recognized.
ask.
So what are you
Actually,
what do you need
I think
recognition
that's
for?
very reasonable.
And probably you might be wondering, what do Black South Africans feel about this?
Orania can't be a Volksstaat. It is actually what I consider to be a micronation. It's just like a small
nation.
It has certain independencies. They have their own currency.
It is, yeah. You know,
What?
when I picked up...
Okay, so the thing is, if they have their own currency, they have everything they own, why don't they, exclude themselves from South Africa and become their own nation on itself? Because if you have your own nation, you have everything on you, or you do not use what the South African use, just... what are you waiting for? Just declare yourself as a nation and exclude yourself from South Africa. Call yourself the Oranian nation or whatever, or the Oranian nation. Do what you want to do in that country. You shouldn't be even connected to South Africa in the first place if you don't.
For that, I realized that there's a measure of sovereignty that is not complete.
Yes.
You guys might be wondering, how did I got to know about this town within South Africa? So recently I found myself in South America on a project of connecting Africans in the diaspora with Africans living in Africa. People out there believe that Orania is a racist model. Do you believe that whatever you guys are practicing here is racism?
Nobody will say they are racist. Nobody in their world will say they are racist.
That if the question is, are they racist in Orania, I can assure you they are. They are racist in every town in South Africa and every country in the world you'll find racists. That is a fact. The Orania model is a model of cultural preservation, and that is not racist. So you might disagree with me, but my personal belief, my honest belief, is that the Orania model is not racist at all. It is, however, a model to preserve something that we hold dear and to create a future where we can live our values, our religion, our language, and share our culture.
Who are the people that are not allowed in here?
Well, Afrikaners live here. Afrikaners live here. Afrikaners who embrace the idea of own labor, we embrace our freedom ideals. This is who lives here.
If you check when South Africa gained independence, if you check the coat of arms of South Africa, it said there is unity in diversity. Orania is within South Africa, but at the end of the day, I believe what you are practicing in here is not unity in diversity.
I beg to differ.
Can you explain that?
How can there be any diversity in South Africa if cultures are not allowed to be themselves? How can there be any diversity at all? If everyone is the same, there's no diversity. If you have a cultural community and you have the Xhosa people or the Barulong people, and they also embrace their identity, and from a standpoint of knowing who you are, of being proud of your culture, of embracing who you are, you get to a point of self-confidence where you then can put out your hand and say, without anyone forcing us, I can build a diplomatic relationship with this and this, and we can do it on our own terms, community to community. That's unity and diversity. To just write it on a coat of arms doesn't mean anything. To live it by creating your own identity. Identity is needed for diversity. Without identity, there is no diversity.
Based on the conversation we've had so far, I feel like the Afrikaners actually have a problem with the English.
Well, we sure have our historical disagreements. The reason, I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
The reason for that is the English took us to the brink of extinction. They took us to the brink of extinction. They almost, in the peace negotiations after the Second War with the English, one of the generals said, if we continue this war, we will be genocided off the face of the earth. We cannot continue this war. At that stage, 30,000 women and children were killed in concentration camps. So they took us to the brink of total stopping to exist. So obviously Afrikaners had a historic feeling of being threatened by that. I think that we are past that and so on, but still we have that colonial force of the national government in South Africa trying to make all the schools English, for example. It's not something we agree with.
If you have that problem with English, I guess Black South Africans also need to have a problem with you, because at the end of the day, they were enslaved. They went through, I mean, with apartheid that happened, I mean, for me being here, I feel like seeing what I'm seeing, with what you're saying, I feel like Orania is glorifying apartheid.
Then I don't think you understand Orania.
I perfectly understand. I understand whatever you're saying. You don't think?
In the Great Trek, in the wars, many of our people were killed by leaders like Dingaan and Shaka. And you know, and there's the issues with the previous regime as well. So our question now is, are we going to hold this as a tit-for-tat game forever? Orania's way of thinking about that is a very niche model. I don't think it's a mainstream idea of thinking about it, but we have our own way of thinking. We view freedom as not being oppressed by anyone and not oppressing anyone. And I think that's not the reality in South Africa anymore. I think, you spoke about apartheid now, so the systems put in place, what is the difference between having a pass under the apartheid regime to go into a certain place to go work and and now swiping an ID card to get into a luxury estate to do people's work? What's the difference? When you're still living in the township, what is the practical difference?
So are you saying that apartheid still exists in South Africa today?
I think the economic equalities based on race in South Africa still exist. And I think the only place where that doesn't exist, because the people do their own work, is here. And I think there is no going forward unless Afrikaners embrace that model. Listen, what you're not going to get in Orania is people falling on their knees, continuously saying sorry for their history. A lot of people apologized on our behalf for everything, and there's a lot of internal Afrikaner friction about that. But in Orania, you will find solutions. Maybe it's not the nice cherry on top stuff, people feel warm in their hearts, Orania is so nice to us, but you will find long-term solutions in terms of labor policies, in terms of community-to-community relationships, and in terms of the way we think.
Listen, I might not agree with the ideologies of the people living in Orania in certain aspect, but I believe that what they've done in here is super impressive, and I feel like other communities within the continent of Africa can embrace these ideas. You know, I've been talking about self-independent, self-sufficient now. I mean, I believe that that's what Kwame Nkrumah's ideology was, and basically everything is here. These guys don't need to step out of, Orania. They can actually live here and survive. Let's talk about the continent of Africa. When COVID happened, most of us could not even survive because we just depended on the West. We're dependent on China for survival. But I believe that if we start...
Okay, so yeah, after watching the video, some of the I do not believe in their ideologies. Most of their ideologies are flawed. Not condemning what your forefathers did. It's a flawed history to say as part of our history. But apart from that, their sense of community and infrastructure is very, very applaudable, because it's such a small power, they've been able to create a whole community where they could live forever. They have their own hospital, they have their own schools, they have their own food, they have their own farms, they have their own everything, yeah, even banks. So with that, you could say, wow, from the aspect of infrastructure, from the aspect of living comfortably, yeah, everything is perfect for them. But when it comes to the ideologies, that's where I find it to be flawed. That's where I find a problem with it. Because if you have if you have an airstrip here in your small community, you complete a lot of things. You feel me? This should be like this. The Orania people should be considered the same way we consider Monaco. Yeah, we consider Monaco to be as a nation. We consider Vatican City to be as a nation or a country, whatever you prefer. But apart from considering them and everything, their ideology, their history, and everything is very bad. It's very poor. That's the only thing that puts them to a low pedestal because of the racism, discrimination, and those things. Yeah, but apart from that, they've done what they've built a very good infrastructure in a small place, and they're hoping to maybe make it from a town to a city. So yeah, and the guy was saying if they have a problem with the British because the British came, were almost taking them to extinction and everything. Because of that, they were at war and a lot of things. So the same way you feel for the British, yeah, the same way Black South Africans feel for you because you caused apartheid, you caused a lot of people to die. So if you have the same feeling for the British, you cannot condemn their feeling for you. You cannot tell them how to feel for you. It's simple. It's simple. It doesn't even test for tat. It's the how you feel against somebody, and I feel the same way against you. But you are not comfortable with me feeling how you are feeling against somebody. That's the thing. But apart from that, listen, what Maye has really made a very good video of this, and it's been impressive, like seeing how a black man went to interview them, got to know their background, got to know their ideologies, and how it differs from everybody else. So yeah, although I keep on saying, although the ideology is very flawed and some things are not good, but for the part of infrastructure, economic growth, and everything, it's very impressive and applaudable. So yeah, this will please do also like and subscribe. Okay, see you another time. Peace out.